So, ladies and gentlemen, now I'd like to introduce to you an artist who I have played before when I first came to Radio Eastern. And this song is by Steve Messer and his band Strange Country. Now, Steve Messer and Strange Country are an award-winning country, bluegrass, gospel band. Steve is a Christian minister. I met him 40 years ago as an art teacher up in Nil when we were young puppies, and with other colleagues there teaching up in Nil, where I met him and his wife Jenny. And they've been around for about 30 years, and they play good music, and I hope that you'll enjoy this song, and I will play another few tracks of his before the close at 6:30. I Like That About a Man.
All right, I Like That About a Man, probably coming very end of 1999.
You wrote that about 1999, so here's the track, I Like That About the Man.
Cause you grief when he slows you down. But Fred's in no hurry, he likes to look around. And I like that about a man. He drives an E8 special, which he's had since new, and he's had it serviced regular like the book says too. And he's got no plans to change while it runs so true. And I like that about a man. His glove box is full with some unusual wares, things that might come in handy, you'll find them in there. So you'll know where to look when your harmonium needs repair. And I like that about a man. When they're still holding hands, and he's raised a good family with all that demands. And I like that about a man. His work's important, but for friendship's sake, when it's time for a chat, he'll always take a break. And he's put off many an ulcer with talking tea and cake. And I like that about a man. With the world and his conscience is sweet. He says it's time on my knees that keeps me on my feet. And I like that about a man. He says it's time on my knees that keeps me on my feet. And I like that about a man. And I like that about a man. And I like that about a man.
Strange Country from his Country Bazaar album from 2004. I like that about a man. And it's about people in the country that we knew, okay, who were, even though they were wealthy people, right, on the land, they were very frugal, and they just, they didn't trade their cars in and go, for all the latest cars with all the bells and whistles, and they just used the materials that they had, and they donated their monies elsewhere to places which were useful, as in charities and what have you. But the time is now 2 minutes to 6. I'd like to now play you a song which Steve plays. It's called the Orange Blossom Special, about a special train that used to travel in the 40s down to Florida, taking all the rich people down south. So I'll play this into the news, Orange Blossom Special. And Steve Messer won the Tamworth Music Award at the Country Festival for this piece, Orange Blossom Special. So enjoy.
News on the hour.
Radio Eastern FM 98.1.
National Radio News.
Hello, I'm Sasha Foote. A Royal Commission examining the experiences of Australians with a disability has wrapped up after 4.5 years. A report will be handed to the Governor-General in a fortnight. The Minister of the National Disability Insurance Scheme, Bill Shorten, says the findings will likely be deeply traumatic for many in the community.
I think there'll be tough stories, hard stories. I congratulate the advocates and people who've come forward. Not easy. I think there's going to be lessons there for federal governments, state governments, the community at large.
Figures from the AEC show that in the previous federal election, only 5% of detainees successfully enrolled, leaving concern about the upcoming referendum. These figures have judges across the nation worried, as Justice Brett Collins says that the low rates of enrolment for those in custody are concerning, as the upcoming referendum aims to empower Indigenous voices. Brett Collins, the coordinator for Justice Action, told The Wire that there is no excuse for the small number of prisoners successfully enrolling to vote.
Commissioner notifies the Electoral Commission of who's been received inside each of the prison systems. So it should be a simple matter of enrolling people on the back of information that's been given. But this hasn't happened despite significant pressure over a number of years.
A senior Aboriginal health medical advisor has told a parliamentary inquiry that access to fresh food and clean water would improve rates of diabetes in remote areas. Rates of diabetes among First Nations adults are 3 times that of non-Indigenous people. And in the NT, they have the highest prevalence of type 2 diabetes in the world. Dr. Jason Agustin from the National Aboriginal Community Controlled Health Organisation organisation says diabetes has become a pervasive healthcare problem to the North Queensland Indigenous community he services.
There is a high degree of overlap with diabetes, cardiovascular disease and renal disease amongst Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. This leads to early heart attacks, to people ending up with kidney failure and on dialysis, to blindness, to amputations. In Yarrabah, I suspect every family has been affected by the loss of someone early to the consequences of diabetes.
The organisation has recommended that the government allocate diabetes funding based on burden of disease. A woman has died after New South Wales police officers allegedly shot her with a taser. Police allege the 47-year-old woman threatened people with an axe on Thursday afternoon before barricading herself in a unit in Newcastle, north of Sydney. Assistant Commissioner Peter McKenna says police used a number of tactical options, including a taser, to subdue her.
There's numerous tactical options that police utilise, less than lethal options, and that will all be explored during the critical incident investigation.
The woman was taken to hospital where she later died. Former Australian Test bowler Stuart McGill has been charged over the supply of a commercial quantity of cocaine that led to his alleged kidnapping in 2021. The 52-year-old, who played 44 Test matches for Australia, has been charged with one count of knowingly taking part in the supply of a large commercial quantity of a prohibited drug. 6 men were also charged over his alleged kidnapping. In NRL, Shaun Johnson has been named in the Warriors team list 24 hours before the home semi-final against Newcastle. Johnson missed last week's qualifying final loss to Penrith after aggravating a calf injury suffered at training late last month. Listen to your favourite community radio station and national radio news on the Community Radio Plus app.
National Radio News, produced by Charles Sturt University, the Community Radio Network, and supported by the Community Broadcasting Foundation.
Your local weather forecast
On Radio Eastern FM
98.1.
For Melbourne's outer east, tomorrow, Saturday the 16th of September, after an overnight low of 10 degrees, we will experience a sunny day with winds north to northwesterly of 15 to 25 kilometres per hour, tending west to northwesterly later during the day, reaching 24 degrees. Looking now towards the extended outlook, Sunday, 25 partly cloudy, Monday, 25 partly cloudy, Tuesday, 26 with showers increasing. And the temperature outside our studios here in Croydon is currently 20 degrees. You're listening to Radio Eastern 98.1 FM, where the time's now 5 minutes past 6. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the final half hour of Friday Drive with me, Michael Ginn. I'm sitting in for Rob Isles, your regular host, who is on a well-earned break. And in this half hour, I'm featuring the music of very special award-winning Australian Gospel Blues artists. I speak of Mr. Steve Messer and his band Strange Country. And from his blurb, Steve says that Strange Country cooks flavours of country blues and gospel into an original uptown, down-home, pre-postmodern rhythm and bluegrass musical stew. Wow, that's a lot. a lot of description there. But comprises Steve Messer on the mandolin and slide guitar and harmonica with vocals, Steve Camp on guitar and vocals, Rod Borum on bass and vocals, Mike Stritch on drums, and Daryl Thompson on guitar, dobro, accordion, and keyboards and vocals. And for more than 30 years, Strange Country has performed across Victoria and interstate, including many years appearing at the Tamworth Country Music Festival. Steve was twice the winner of the Herner Golden Harmonica Championship at Tamworth before being asked to judge the award alongside his idol there, the late, great Broderick Smith of the Dingoes. So I feature for you today some tracks from Country Bazaar, the 2004 album, and the 1998 album Strange Country. So before we get down to business, please do have a listen to our sponsors.
Are your gutters clogged? Are your solar panels not performing as they should? Or maybe your windows need a good clean? For a free quote, contact Eco Green Window Gutter and Pressure Clean on 0400 538 622. That's 0400 538 622. A Radio Eastern sponsor.
Hi, I'm Kim Dennison with today's Cooking Hints. To store leafy vegetables like spinach, just blanch in boiling water for 2 minutes, then rinse it in cold water. Press and remove water and store in freezer bags in the fridge for 2 weeks without getting spoiled. To store tomato puree, make a good amount of it and put it in the ice tray and keep in the freezer. When it's frozen, remove and keep the tomato puree as frozen cubes in freezer bags and use as required. Did you know that if you only need half an onion at a time, save the root half, it'll last longer. And to keep noodles or rice from boiling over, add a tablespoon of butter or oil to the water. With today's cooking hints, I'm Kim Dennison.
Thanks so much for those tips, Kim. So right now I'm going to play a track from the Strange Country album from 1998. It's a very significant song to the Fallen Dead. I played this at Anzac Day quite a lot, and it's called The Avenues of Trees. And it's speaking about a drive through the Memorial Arch just outside of Ballarat. Enjoy.
Heading out of Ballarat towards the Western Plains, the tall white arch behind me, ahead the Jewel Lane. On both sides of the highway, stripped bare by winter's breeze, 10 miles of sad reminders, the avenue of trees. I never thought about it, can't say what changed my mind. I must have driven through there about 100 times, but this day it all connected. I begged a moment's silence, please. 10 miles of fallen heroes, the avenue of trees. And greater love has no man than he laid his life down in order that another could go free. And brave men march to war from cities and from country towns. Some made it home, some died alone. Who knows their agony? And so there stands the avenue of trees. There are statues in the main street, boards up on the walls, hand-carved with golden letters in every country hall. And if you see a cross there, it's for brave men such as these, that just outside of Ballarat there's an avenue of trees. And greater love has no man than he laid his life down in order that another could go free. And brave men march to war from cities and from country towns. Some made it home, some died alone. Who knows their agony? And so there stands the avenue of trees. I spent an hour alone inside a memorial hall, stopping for a photo of a boy who heard the call. The inscription underneath said he was born in 23. That's way before my time, he still a younger man than me. They know their scorn was poured on the one who made the trees. And greater love has no man than he laid his life down in order that the whole world could go free. And Jesus left his throne and tangled thorns became his crown. So far from home, he died alone. Who knows his agony? When they hung him in the avenue of trees. Greater love has no man. Greater love has no man. When they hung him in the avenue of trees. Greater love has no man. Greater love has no man. When they hung him in the avenue of trees. Greater love has no man. Greater love has no man. Him in the avenue of trees.
That was Gippsland Gospel Band, Steve Messer and Strange Country with the Avenue of Trees from their 1998 Strange Country album. Steve's actually and the band are playing down at Mafra tonight, and Steve did pre-record his remarks in an interview earlier this week. So have a listen to the background of the Avenue of Trees.
I wrote Avenue of Trees probably in the early 1990s. We'd been back to Nil to visit our friends there. We had a lot of good friends in Nil. Those years of teaching there really made quite an impact on me and on our family. That's where Jenny and I, we were married in Melbourne, but we began our married life up there. So Nil was a very important place for us. We had a few kids up there. But we were driving back to Nil to visit some friends, and the kids were old enough to know what the McDonald's sign looked like and made quite a racket that we didn't stop there. And we were driving. I wrote Avenue of Trees probably in the early 1990s. We'd been back to Nil to visit our friends there. We had a lot of good friends in Nil. Those years of teaching there really made quite an impact on me and on our family. That's where Jenny and I, we were married in Melbourne, but we began our married life up there. So Nil was a very important place for us. We had a few kids up there. But we were driving back to Nil to visit some friends, and the kids were old enough to know what the McDonald's sign looked like and made quite a racket that we didn't stop there. And we were driving on the western edge of Ballarat, and on the western edge of Ballarat it used to be for 10 miles, they had an avenue of honour. I think it was the first memorial avenue planted in Australia. The money was raised by the workers at the Lucas factory. And after the First War, the Great War, which became known as the First World War, it was felt that it was appropriate to honour with a living memorial those who'd gone to war, and especially those who died in the war. And so the Memorial Avenue was planted on the western edge of Ballarat behind the great big arch that still strides over the highway, the Western Highway there. So it just struck me as being kind of wrong that there was this racket coming from the back seat when the trees should really have evoked a sort of sense of reverence. It's too much to expect kids to get that, but that's what got me thinking, that every one of those trees represents the life of someone who bled and died for Australia and for a cause that they saw as being bigger than their own life. And that's quite a moving thing. The Bible says that greater love has no man than this, than he lay down his life for his friends, and that's in John chapter 15, that's often used on memorial occasions to talk about the nature of human sacrifice, and it certainly applies, but Jesus was talking about himself when he said that, because him going to the Roman cross and being crucified, it was not an accident. It was something that he knew was going to happen, and what he was doing was laying his life down as the perfect sacrifice for the sins of the whole world. And so I tried to get that in there as well, that the sacrifice we see and acknowledge and perhaps even admire in war is just a dim reflection of the greater sacrifice that Jesus made in dying on the cross for the sins of everyone. So that's Avenue of Trees.
That's very interesting, the background to Avenue of Trees. So, as I say, Steve's playing in Maffra and tonight with Strange Country, and he took some time out from his day job as minister at the Presbyterian churches at Maffra and Warragul to record this interview, and I apologise that I lost part of it. We'll play some background to the band shortly, but we will hear our scheduled messages as well.
Great Health Guide discussing Is Technology Affecting Your Life by Charmaine Roth. Do you sometimes feel like you don't measure up? It's not surprising considering all the information we receive daily on our devices. We are now constantly told how to work, what we need to be striving for, how our relationships should be, what our homes and gardens should look like, and the list goes on and on. In reality, we are becoming a culture of anxiety-ridden people striving to reach unrealistic expectations fed by the constant stream of information telling us how to be. Parenting is under attack as well. We are constantly being fed information on what our children should be achieving at certain ages, what they need to be eating, how much playtime, sleep time, social time they should have. This leaves parents anxious that their children are not achieving when they actually are. Relationship advice is so easily accessible. However, if you're not achieving the right objectives, according to the experts, does it mean that one's relationship is falling apart? The fact that everyone is communicating on a device is the major threat to relationships today. Technology has denied us the right to be an individual. It's time to take a step back, stop comparing ourselves to others, stop seeking validation from a faceless audience, and reconnect with the world again. Charmaine Roth is a psychotherapist.
Thanks, Charmaine, for that message. Now, Steve did speak to us, about the Strange Country, and this is what he had to say.
Strange Country as a band's been together by that name since about 1994. I think that was the first time we used the name. Up until then, I'd been playing with sort of the same guys, Steve Camp and Rod Borum in particular, Steve on guitar and vocals and Rod on bass and vocals. And we'd been playing together for a fair while. Other people came in and came out at different times, but I think we settled on the name Strange Country in 1994 because we'd been known by a variety of different names with different people. And so we've been going out under that name since then. So Rod and Steve and I have been playing together since the late 1980s. And then we've been joined by people like Daryl Thompson. I've played with Daryl in other people's bands, and he joined us probably about 1989, something like that. And then our drummer Michael Stritch joined the band in about 2003, something like that. He took over from my son Andy, who was playing drums with us in the early days, but Andy became a baker which meant that he couldn't really do gigs at night time when he had to start work at 2 in the morning. So Michael's been with us about 20 years. So the band, pretty much has been together about 30 years, but by different names, I suppose. But Strange Country it is now. The music's influenced by all the things I've listened to over the years. We're not a bluegrass band. We do know some bluegrass songs, but we do them not really in bluegrass style. Bluegrass people wouldn't call that stuff bluegrass, but I play the mandolin and Daryl sometimes plays the dobro, so we've got some bluegrass instrumentation, but I love bluegrass and old-time country music, and I like songs that tell stories, so I've been inspired by people like Johnny Cash and Hank Williams and Chuck Berry, and by songwriters like Guy Clark and Joe Ely and Jerry Jeff Walker, Texas musicians. I like the way they tell stories in song. Bands like the Dingoes, the Melbourne band from the 70s, very huge influence and inspiration to me, especially their lead singer Broderick Smith and harmonica player. And Captain Matchbox Whoopie Band. I've listened to a lot of blues over the years. People like Muddy Waters and Little Walter in particular have shaped my, that I play the harmonica. Bands like the Allman Brothers were very important to me as well, although we don't really sound much like them, but nonetheless they've formed a big part of my listening diet. So yes, all these things, they just come together. We combine electric and acoustic instruments. We can play loud if we want to. We can rock out, and we play quite a lot of gentle ones as well. So I just like being able to incorporate a lot of things into the music. But it's all about telling stories about people and places. Michael, you and I met in Nil back in the early 80s, where we were both teachers at Nil High, and I'd been a city boy up until then. And the idea of going out to the country, I was all eyes and ears, just getting used to this whole new way of life. And I suppose a lot of that's trickled into my music, just watching the way people live and the kinds of things that go on. And you just try to turn those commonplace things into songs about people and the things they do and the things that matter. So that's what I've tried to do.
So that was Steve Messer from Strange Country fleshing out the details that I mentioned before about the band. So I'd like to play one more track from Steve's Strange Country album from 1998. Very fine song it is. For the last time.
Sale sign went up months ago. He told me business was very slow. It's all I've got, and these 10 years have been a long, hard climb. But I drove past each day. I wished him well, but nothing changed. I wasn't there when he walked away for the last time. For the last time. For the last time, I can only guess how it made him feel, what was on his mind. Was he a stronger man than me, or did he cry when he turned the key, when he just had to leave things be for the last time? I heard her mother cry today, her daughter threw their love away. So 16 years of all she had was left behind. With her bags packed outside the door, did she turn to look once more, or wonder what she's leaving for the last time? For the last time, for the last time. I can only guess how it made her feel, what was on her mind. Was there an instant of regret, or sheer relief her course was set? Did she care her heart was wrecked for the last time? cheeks were pale. We held hands till her grip failed. I called her name, but if she heard, there was no sign. Dying good evening light, I tried to speak, no words were right. I kissed her, then I said good night for the last time. For the last time. For the last time. Well, I can't say how I felt or what was on my mind, but I've been taught to watch and pray for the morning of that day when all tears are wiped away. For the last time. 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 For the last
From 1998, that was Aussie Gospel Blues legend Steve Messer and Strange Country. That's almost all from me today. I'd like to thank you, the callers, for making this such a successful program with your lovely comments. I want to thank the wonderful Sue, who's been in the office taking your calls, and I know you enjoy having a chat with Sue as well. Please stay tuned to Ian Douglas, who'll be presenting his Easterly Winds program, and I'll be taking a rest from the hot seat for a little while. My Tuesday slot it will be filled next week by Murray Smith, and I'll be in the hot seat again weekly Tuesday on the 20th starting from the 26th of September. So please do stay active, stay happy, stay healthy, and bye for now. Here's a tune you can hum to.